Good morning, coffee drinkers. I'm Hallie Zobel. We're private corporate counsel from Orlando, Florida, and thank you so much for tuning in to Law Moment. This morning, we have the pleasure of a guest by the name of Nicole Moore, and she is an adoption attorney here in Orlando, Florida. Nicole, thank you so much for coming on to our show, Law Moment. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your law practice, please.
Thanks so much for having me. As you said, my name's Nicole. I grew up in Tampa, Florida. I went to undergrad at the University of Florida, and then I went back for law school there. Since graduating law school, I have been practicing exclusively in the area of adoption law. September will mark 20 years.
Well, that's very unusual for an attorney to practice just 100% in adoption, and you don't see that very much. Tell us about your path when it is you decided to become an attorney. Have you always wanted to practice this type of law?
Actually, my father is an attorney in Tampa, and he does tax law there, and I actually never had any inclination to practice law until I volunteered with an adoption agency and learned that there actually was a career where you can assist building families. And I immediately became interested in that area of the law.
What type of work were you interested in before you volunteered at the adoption agency?
My background was in journalism.
Mm-hmm. And did you enjoy journalism?
I enjoyed aspects of it. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, my first job was in the news, and it's a tad bit too sensationalized for my taste. I wanted to be interviewing people and having multifaceted, interesting stories. And my first job, it said on the producer's desk, if it bleeds, it leads. And so I quickly moved to Plan B.
There you go. I understand. So you practice here in Orlando, and tell me about your certification. Are you board certified?
Yeah.
And I don't know if our audience would understand what that means. So tell us.
Yes. So I do. My office is in Orlando, and I actually file my cases here, but I serve clients all over the state of Florida and actually throughout the United States. If one of the adoptive families, might be in another state. I am one of the few board certified adoption attorneys in the Central Florida area. And that is a level of expertise that the Florida bar allows you to get in a certain genre, which involves having to have handled a certain number of cases and, sitting for a test.
And the truth is, which the audience, you mumbled that part, sitting for a test. What the audience doesn't know is that these tests can be very brutal and they're very difficult to pass. So I commend you on that, Nicole, for that feat of passing the board certification exam. What type of families do you help? What do they look like?
I help any family that has any need for adoption. So that could be a non-relative matched case of a newborn adoption where an adoptive family has met up with an expectant mother and they have discussed the opportunity to adopt that child. I work with relatives looking to adopt a family member, grandparents. I work with step-parents wanting to adopt a stepchild. I do adult adoptions. I do recognition of foreign adoptions. I would say the bulk of my caseload is newborn placements.
Mm-hmm. And that can be pretty hectic and last minute, a lot of scurrying around. Is that correct?
It's definitely not a 9 to 5 because babies decide when they want to be born, and we are on their schedule.
And so have you ever been at the hospital in the wee hours of the morning after a baby's been born?
Wee hours of the morning, wee hours of the night. My family is very accustomed to knowing it doesn't matter if it is a night or weekend or a holiday. If a baby's born, mom's going to be in the hospital with the folks that I'm helping.
Gotcha. Do you do grandparent adoptions and same-sex adoptions?
Yes, I do. I do quite a bit of those.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So the you said you handle matters where people can be out of state. What does that look like?
Absolutely. So in interstate adoptions, Hallie, we can have a birth mother, let's say, delivering in Florida, but the adoptive parent lives in Pennsylvania. And so we file again, and Florida law applies to that baby being born in Florida, but the adoptive parents can really reside in any state.
I'd be real interested in learning where your referrals come from. Do you advertise?
At this point in my career, I don't. Early on, there was quite a bit of advertising, and I worked at a big firm for a very long time, but I have been blessed with the relationships with other attorneys like yourself that I have made over the past 2 decades, and my entire practice is referral based.
Oh, that's so fantastic. And as you know, I practice estate planning law as part of my area of pre-death planning and post-death administration. And do you ever have the opportunity to just speak to clients about getting their documents in order, especially naming a guardian should they perish before the child's 18? And I know it's horrible to think about.
It's so important, though, because, they're so excited bringing a newborn or even an older child addition to their family. And I think that they are experiencing the joy of finalizing their adoption, and I'm ordering their new amended birth certificate that reflects they are the new parents as though the child was born to them. But it's so important that as a placing entity and adoption attorney that I remind them that this is the time to contact your estate planning attorney and provide appropriately and prepare the documents for that child, whether it looks like a will or whether it looks like a special needs trust in the case of a special needs child. We strongly encourage them amongst the excitement to plan ahead for the future.
I notice on your Facebook page, you're very good about posting that you put photos of the families there in the courtroom. Do you have any stories that you'd like to share with me today of something that was especially heartwarming?
Every placement I think that I've done in family that I have helped has definitely been a positive experience for me. But off the top of my head, I've been really blessed this week to learn that one of the women that we handled the placement of her newborn has decided, based on having such a great experience with our firm and placing her child and experiencing adoption, that she actually wants to get into the field. We had just received some beautiful pictures of her having a reunion with the adoptive parents and the child, and having met the adoptive parents' extended family, and the adoptive parents getting to meet her extended family. So getting those pictures and getting the news that she actually wants to pay it forward and dedicate her career to helping people in the adoption industry was very exciting for me.
That's an amazing story. How will she go about getting in the adoption industry?
She plans to go to school for social work.
Very good. Very good. So I enjoy the pictures on Facebook. I did want to ask a question. You triggered something, adult adoptions. Do you do many of those?
I would say that's not the bulk of my caseload. The bulk of my caseload is doing newborn placements, but certainly I do a handful of those a year. And sometimes they're just adult adoptions in themselves, and sometimes they're adult step-parent adoptions.
Okay, well, that makes sense. And so really, you're 100% adoption across the board. Do you ever litigate in your cases?
Thankfully, not a lot.
Right.
Certainly, sometimes it does call for some issues that need to be litigated, but that's a very small area, thankfully, of my practice.
So hopefully most things go pretty smooth.
They do, because, this is voluntary private adoptions. It's not the state. It's not DCF taking away children. It's women coming to us saying, I want to place my child. I want to give the child a better opportunity than I think I could provide them, and allowing me to help that mother reach that goal of doing so.
That's a beautiful scenario that you described, that it's not someone taking their child away, that it is volunteer, and that's a whole nother ball game. Lawyers always say the best type of law to be in, the happiest area of law is adoption law, which I'm sure you've always heard, and I've heard that over the years too.
The judges certainly like when they see me because, especially if it's the finalization hearing, adoption for a newborn is a bifurcated. So we have a termination case in which we terminate bio parents, and then we have a finalization case. But the finalization cases and the ones that you see our firm post on social media are especially happy for judges. And they typically start off the case by telling the family, I spend a lot of my day in families that are breaking up. So this is the best part of my day, helping solidify your family.
And I presume these judges are the family law judges in circuit court?
Yes, exactly.
Sure. Okay, well, very good. I thank you so much for coming out to the studio today for Law Moment, and such a pleasure to have you. Audience, if you're interested in contacting Nicole Moore, you can reach her through my law office, Private Corporate Counsel. Once again, I'm an attorney in Orlando, Florida. Our phone number is 407-647-7887. We can be reached there, and be glad to pass on your information and Nicole's contact information to you. She is 100% adoption law, no other practice, board certified, and she'd be an excellent person to go to for all your adoption needs. And thank you so much for tuning in today, and have a terrific afternoon.